Good evening, guys, and welcome to this week's training. You guys in the community, you guys selected, tell me, Marshall, teach me how to say no. So that's what today's training is all about. Let me get this scrolled down so I can see you guys. If any comments or questions, please post below. Let me know what you get out of this training as well, whether or not you're watching it on a replay or you're here live. And if you're on the if you're part of the YouTube community, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Okay, help me get these trainings out there. So, hi. Today we're going to talk about knowing our no. That's what I'm going to call these 3 or 4 trainings we're going to do this week. And today, training 1's all focused on this idea of personal autonomy. Okay, so to know our no, we first have to really understand where we're coming from. Okay, what we have been through. Why do we have anxiety saying no? Why do we feel guilt? Why do we feel shame? Why do we even feel paralyzed? Growing up, that was a common experience. I remember spending an hour fretting over asking for a cookie. Okay, I remember sweating when I would go and ask if I could go play with a friend. I remember the anxiety that would grip me when I wanted to ask for something. Am I going to get told no? Am I going to get rejected? And then I remember the panic, the absolute panic I'd feel if I were going to say no, especially to my parents. If I was going to say no to something, I was going to pay for it. And so saying no became a real scary thing. Asking for what I want became a real scary thing. And these things are intrinsically linked. If we can't say no, we can't really ask for what we want either. We're going to conform. Remember that discard trauma we talked about last week? It's the fear of being thrown away. And so that puts us into this fawn response where we're going to become accommodating. We're going to shape ourselves into whatever we think the other person wants in order to survive, right? Well, this impairs our no, and it absolutely impairs our asking. And so now we're moving beyond this, right? We're learning how to be happy after narcissistic abuse, after codependent coping, after codependent survival. Our biggest challenge is to really advocate for ourselves. Well, when it comes to no, we need to understand 4 specific principles so that we can grasp the underlying reason why our no matters, okay? Because in codependency and narcissistic abuse, our personal autonomy, our sovereignty as a being, our existence isn't respected. It's discarded. It's ignored. It's denied. It's thrown away. And that conditions us to discard ourselves, to throw ourselves away, and that allows us to become shapeable to the other person. And remember, in that discard trauma, those 4 mistakes we make ourselves wrong, that leads us to giving ourselves up. This is where that plays into that. Now, to start understanding that the validity of our no, we need to understand that we're actually the authority over our life. We're the ones who define the rules of engagement within our existence. I like to use an analogy of a yard, okay? It's an easy thing. We all have yards. We've all experienced them, right? Yards have fences. Yards have limits. Yards have shapes. And in that yard, there are things going on. There's things happening, and there are things that aren't happening. And typically, yards have a rule. They have rules of what will be allowed and won't be allowed, or what will be tolerated and what won't be tolerated, and what's really wanted in that yard. Well, people are a lot like yards. We have definition, we have shape, we have limits, and we want to have particular kinds of experiences. And now, if we start looking at personal autonomy, our ability to self-govern, that's when we start to understand that we're responsible for our yard. Our yard is where our power exists. Now, in the Codependence to Confidence training system, I teach the students and clients to go through that and at depth how to understand what the yard is, how to identify it, how to know what their yard is and someone else's yard is, and what to do with those things. But for the sake of brevity today, we're going to just use a very simple concept of going, well, if it's my feelings, my yard. If it's my choice or my desire, my yard. My action, my yard. Okay? Very simple. Feelings, thoughts, desires, actions, choices. Define your yard. That's what's in your yard. Hi, Carmel. You're welcome. And I saw your post, and I'll be responding to that after the video, okay? So, and know this, Carmel, and anybody else that's watching, you're dealing with love withdrawal. This is a chemical withdrawal in your brain. So it's a little rabbit trail, but when we've been discarded by the narcissist, when the relationship is ending and we're going into no contact, we're going to go through a chemical withdrawal, and it's going to be an incredibly painful and intense experience. And distraction will help to some degree, but what you really want to do is use those tools, the regulation tools, the touch, the breath. You want to go for a walk. You want to stay away from your electronic devices so you don't reach out to them. But you also need to actively reinforce the cost, because your brain is craving a dopamine serotonin hit. But we need to help it understand that the pain we experienced with the person was real, and that outweighs the fantasy, which is what creates the dopamine rush. That's what you're dealing with there. So be sure to actively write down and reinforce every day. It's like, yeah, you treated me this way, and that's how I really felt about it. It really hurt. Starts to reshape the way your brain is associated to the narcissist, so that now you associate pain with the narcissist rather than pleasure. All right. So now we'll get back to saying no. So personal autonomy is all about the ability to self-govern. It's the ability to occupy space. This is a very important thing here, guys. As codependents and that fawn response, we decided not to occupy space. We decided to give it up. We absorbed the narcissist. We absorbed the other person. We absorbed their expectations and their feelings and their identities. We gave ourselves up. Now, if we're going to know what we want to say no to, if we want to even say no, we've got to first know who we are. We got to be able to reference ourselves, right? That means we've got to occupy our space. And then that gets us into the ability to start tuning into what we want to say no to and what we want to say yes to. We first have to come back to us. Personal autonomy's first major step is occupying space. And space is a very simple thing. You're welcome, Carmel. Space is whatever you feel right now. It's whatever you think right now. Like right now, I'm doing this Facebook live training and YouTube training. Hi, guys. I feel a little tense. I have a little perfectionism going on. Here I am. Cool. I get to occupy that space. It's not bad. It's not good. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just a space. It's just where I'm at. Okay? So that's an example of occupying space. Now, because I'm occupying that space, I'm able to reference how I feel about what I'm experiencing. That's how I'll know if I want to say yes or no to something. See how this works? This is why we have to occupy space first, whatever space we're in. I don't care what your feelings are. I don't care what your thoughts are. I don't care what they are, because they all matter. They don't have to be changed. They don't have to be shifted. They don't have to conform to something, because this is our yard, our territory. So if I want a big sprinkler that shoots rainbows into the sky in my yard, then that's what I get to have. And everybody else around me in their yards get to live with it, because that's what you get to live with if you're going to have a relationship with me. It's this big sprouty thing, or maybe I have a chocolate pool, whatever. That's the beauty of this, guys, is we start to design our lives deliberately by having things in our lives that bring us a certain kind of experience. But for us to know what on earth that is, we first got to occupy our space. Going to say, yep, this is my territory. This is my yard. These are my feelings. These are my wants. These are my pains. These are my fears. These are my hopes. These are my talents and my gifts. All that. These are my limits. All of that is occupying space. That gets us back into our personal autonomy, the right to self-govern, and innate wholeness. Autonomy means I am separate from you. I do not need you to complete me. That's a very important place for us to go. And there's some really deep attachment stuff that goes into the idea of I need someone to complete me. We'll get into that in a future training, but this is where we want to come back to, is to realize that I am a whole and complete person that has the capability to share my yard with other people and their whole and complete yards too. That's called a relationship. Okay. So to know our no, we need to get in contact with our personal space, and there's two ways. I'm going to have you do this today as part of your experiment in this training. First one is I want you to, they come in the form of the two rights, basically. And the two rights are you have the right to occupy space and you have the right not to care. Okay? That second one tends to throw people a bit, so we'll get into that in a moment. But that first right, the right to occupy space, what space are you denying that you actually occupy anyway? Is it the space of hope, anger, loneliness, joy, peace, wholeness, worth, value, love, joy? Where are you denying it? And here's some signals that tell you you're denying the space. Oh, I'm not worthy of that. Oh, that's not me. Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, I don't deserve this. Yeah. Sound familiar? If you're seeing yourself say those things to, like, hey, you're worth it. No, I'm not. People have rejected me. Now you're denying the space of being worth it. That's where you want to go. You want to begin to lean into occupying that space and understanding who you are in it. Just by going, okay, this is really uncomfortable to admit I'm worth it. Great, that's what the space is like. That gives you a chance to be there. A second thing you need to do with occupying space is reside in your body. Now, some very easy ways to start residing in your body. Touch your body. Just feel it. It's like, this is my arm, you know, my elbow, my muscle, you know, my face, my nose. When we start doing this and we actually verbalize it, we're actually reconnecting our brain back with our body into what's called mind-body orientation, okay? This helps us get back into real space. I'm right here. Boom. There we go. So I want you to practice both of those and explore them from where you're at within them, because this helps you start the experience of occupying space. Then that leads us to right number 2, which is the right not to care. Empathy is a gift, guys. It is not an entitlement. It is not a right. It's not something that someone else has any entitlement to. Your empathy is a gift. It's time to respect it. It's time to honor it. Go, yeah, this is my empathy. And guess what? Just because we're empathic doesn't mean we're empathic or we feel empathy all the time. There are distinct times where we do not care. And that is not a fault, and that is not a flaw, and that is not narcissism. I don't care. And that's okay, because that means your empathy is useful elsewhere, okay? We're not here to rescue the world or other people or even ourselves. We need to wake up to our wholeness, and that's bigger than being rescued. That's more like, oh, I'm actually okay. I'm pretty cool. I'm badass, kind of thing. Empathy's job is to create a space or a container in which pain or joy can be understood, respected, and allowed, can be welcomed and witnessed. Empathy is not about carrying their load. It's not about fixing their problem. It's not about getting them to climb out of their own hole. It's not about rescuing, and it's not enabling. It's about holding space in a kind and attentive way that does not take from us too. Okay? This is why we have the right not to care, because we have been habitualized in being compelled to care. I must care about that. I have to care about that. And we confuse guilt with empathy. We confuse pity with empathy, and we confuse responsibility with empathy. Empathy doesn't take responsibility for anything. It's just like, wow, that's really hard what you're going through there. I'll hold some space with you. That's it. It's not out there fixing the problem. And if it might have some inspiration for you, it'll ask, hey, would you like that? Would you like some insight? I might have some insight that might help you in your journey. That's all. There's often where I don't feel compelled to be empathetic, which is cool because then I get to choose to be empathetic. There's magic in that right there. Keeps us out of the resentment zone, out of the burnout zone. Keeps us connected to ourselves, to our brilliance. It guides us to connect with people, places, and things that are in alignment with our brilliance, with our wholeness. See? So when we give ourselves the permission not to care, we start to discover what we really care about. Then we can deal with that honestly and openly and empowering. This is where we get to finally say no to someone else's drama, someone else's problem. This is where boundaries start to construct themselves, because as I occupy my space, it becomes real clear what's mine and what's others. And when I stop compelling empathy, then I start to see what is actually other people's shit to deal with and not mine to deal with. Boundaries, guys. Boom. Because saying no is the expression of boundary. It's the verbal boundary. It's also the source of your happiness, because codependency, reality is inverted. It's backwards. Our happiness is in saying no. It's not always going to be in saying yes. Okay, so let's see. Caramel says, I'm saying no all the time, and that's how we got into this situation. I said no last week. He hates it. Of course he hates it. He hates it because he's not getting his supply. He's like a 3-year-old that's not getting his chocolate cube for the day. Mature, healthy adults don't do that. Okay? They might be disappointed you said no, but they're not going to attack you. They're not going to shame you. They're not going to guilt you. They're not going to pressure you. They're going to be like, oh, okay, well, that sucks, but I'm good. They're not going to abandon you. They're not going to withdraw and give you this silent treatment, because they're not in a transactional relationship with you. They care about who you are. They honor your boundaries because they value you more than they value the benefit. Okay? That's a loving reciprocal relationship. Okay, so letting them climb out if they don't know. Yep, you stay out of their hole, they climb out. You don't have to rescue them, not your problem. You do not get them to climb out. They do it themselves, or they don't. That's the beauty of this. There is so much freedom, guys, it's that we get to have when we stop fixing their problems. We have so much more to do in life than fix other people's problems. We've got happiness to get to. We've got brilliance to get to. We've got play to get to. We've got love to get to, and connection and intimacy and joy, travel and movies and cars and concerts and kids and whatevers. Okay? Life is so much more than this over amplified, compelled empathy that we deal with. Okay? You're very welcome, Carmel. So this is what I want you guys to focus on in today's training, is occupying your space and giving yourself permission to acknowledge when you don't care. Okay? That's it. Tomorrow, because we got 4 little principles here, 4 master elements to knowing our no so we can use it. We got to recognize our space and our personal autonomy. So that was tonight's training. Tomorrow, it's going to recognize in-body signals that your body gives you when it says no. See where we're going? Marshall's crazy, has logic. Number 3, sense of internalized authority to advocate for ourselves. That's a fun one. And then I'm going to give you some scripts on how to say no, so you don't have to figure it out. You can just say it and go on with your life. We'll also discuss in this how to deal with disappointment and giving up the guilt, because that really comes in with technically number 3. It's in there. So I want to express that because it's not in the description, but that is also going to be included because we don't have to carry other people's stuff. And guilt is this rule thing, and we'll work with that. Also, guys, next week I start opening the doors for Get Closure Now. So we're going to be taking consult interviews starting July 9th. So if you've got trauma and you want to get closure on that trauma, this is your opportunity. The class starts July 29th. So the doors are open for 3 weeks and then it will close. This will be the last time I'm doing it this year. I'll be doing one other training starting in October, but that will be about the brilliance of you, or being you brilliantly. So this is the last chance you get this year to get in there and get some closure on trauma. So you're going to want to sign up. There's a 20-seat max on that. And thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you for the support you guys have been giving each other. Thank you for adding people to the group. Remember, you can always promote the group. I encourage it. I'm a big fan of that because people tend to take resources that are recommended to them much more seriously than if I go out and run a Facebook ad or say, hey, join my group. Because, obviously there's self-interest. I'd like you to come to my group so I can teach you. And then you might go, ooh, wow, what you do is awesome. Thank you. And you might even sign up for a course or training I do. But when you guys recommend it, there's a lot more power in that. So definitely keep on recommending the group. Remember, guys, that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Tomorrow, we'll talk about recognizing in-body signals, start dealing with that guilt factor and the disappointment component. We'll have some more fun. Okay. Thank you guys again for showing up. I appreciate you. Have a good night.